We are looking at the first chapter of 1 Samuel. This historical record ignores the movements of armies and empires to focus on a single domestic crisis. The central figure is Hannah, a woman suffering from barrenness. In her ancient context, the inability to bear children was a mark of severe social failure, often interpreted by the community as a sign of divine disfavor. Her agony is sharpened by Peninnah, her husband's second wife, who has multiple children. Peninnah uses her status to provoke and humiliate Hannah daily, turning a private medical tragedy into a weapon of psychological torment. Hannah is trapped at the intersection of a deep, unfulfilled desire and a toxic social environment. She faces a deficit that no earthly remedy can resolve. When we face constant provocation, the baseline human instinct is to retaliate. The common response is to descend into a cycle of arguments and bitterness, trying to win a fight that has no end. These taunts are a trap designed to keep Hannah's focus on a horizontal level, locked in an unwinnable earthly conflict with a rival. Carrying that weight of unreciprocated anger creates a heavy emotional toll. It fills the mind with noise, isolating the victim inside a storm of anxiety. This creates the core dilemma. When a tragedy cannot be fixed by human arguments or revenge, where should that pain be directed? Hannah makes a physical and spiritual shift. She leaves the domestic conflict behind and travels to the tabernacle at Shiloh. She chooses to bypass human retaliation. She takes her agony straight to the source, appealing directly to God. Her prayer is unusual. Her lips move, but she makes no sound. She is pouring her soul out in a way that prioritizes internal depth over vocal volume. This silence is misread by the high priest, Eli. He watches her trembling lips and assumes he is witnessing public drunkenness. While the earthly authority misinterprets her deep grief, the divine authority receives her silent desperation with absolute, perfect clarity. This moment shows that communion with God does not depend on the eloquence of words, but on the raw authenticity of a heart that has stopped fighting people and started seeking help. During this prayer, Hannah makes a radical vow. If she is given a son, she will permanently give him back to the service of the Lord. She is asking for her ultimate personal blessing and immediately redirecting it. She seeks the fulfillment of her desire only to relinquish her ownership of it. Hannah's internal state immediately changes. Her face loses its sadness, and she enters a state of absolute peace. This peace arrives before the circumstances change. She is not yet pregnant, and the external reality of her life is exactly as it was before. She has secured internal rest based entirely on the character of the one listening to her, long before she sees the results of her request. The narrative records that God answers the prayer. Samuel is born. Now Hannah faces a final test. Will she follow through on the immense cost of her promise? She does. Once the child is weaned, she travels back to Shiloh and surrenders Samuel to the temple, just as she said she would. She treats this as a joyful consecration, returning her best blessing to its source. In this text, spiritual victory is found in the discipline to position what we love most within a purpose larger than our own satisfaction. The boy she left behind in the temple becomes the central figure of the next era. Samuel grows into the prophet who ends the chaotic era of the judges and anoints the first kings of Israel, including David. A direct causal line exists between these massive geopolitical shifts and the silent, agonizing prayer of a single woman in the tabernacle. Hannah's personal despair, once surrendered, became the specific starting point for the rise of the monarchy,